When you're young, it is impossible to fathom that anything you're seeing is great as the things you've read about, like the things you've read in record books. They have to put it out of reach. Tom Brady had to win 7 Super Bowls to be greater than Joe Montana. Joe Montana had to do X, Y, and Z to be greater than John Unitas. History, it's always very difficult, I think, at least for me, to put what I'm seeing into historical perspective. But if you were to just wake up 30 years from now and look at what Reid did, why would he not belong on this list?
Well, here's the thing, too. Reid he's 46 wins away from 300. He's already 4th on the all-time list. He's 65 years old.
So that list is Shula, Belichick, Hallis.
And Reid is 4th.
And then Reid.
Already 4th.
He's how old?
65. And Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback, which keeps him pretty young. That's the thing.
That's also why is the big difference, though.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is,
I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but there's a big difference between his Eagles tenure and his Chiefs tenure.
And that's why it's hard for Cam and I to see, Bubba, like you're saying.
Yeah, but no. Hold on. I'm pushing back hard on that. So are we all sitting here saying Patrick Mahomes would definitively be Patrick Mahomes if Andy Reid wasn't his coach?
No way, and he wouldn't be without Kelsey.
Are we saying Bill Belichick?
No, I'm not.
Isn't where he is because Tom Brady was his quarterback. I mean, I don't think we can diminish Reid for that.
I'm not diminishing. I'm not saying he's the bad. That's why I personally have always said Bill Parcells is a better coach than Belichick, because Parcells didn't. He did it at 4 different teams. And he made each team better, and he didn't have the players that Belichick did. Belichick is obviously unbelievable, and so is Reid. But when Reid has the best players, the best player essentially of all time, he's doing unprecedented things.
But there is also something to making that player the best player.
It's not
of
a
all
knock
time,
on
for
Reid.
Sure.
But he's also the winningest coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, who have had some pretty great coaches like Dick
Eagles
Vermeil.
fans hate him.
What's that?
No, they don't.
The Eagles fans did hate him. I mean, or at least they didn't appreciate him nearly enough. They kept holding him up to Buddy Ryan. And as I sat there all the time and got booed in Philadelphia, Mike and Mike would go to Philadelphia, and Andy would bring us cheesesteaks, and we loved him. And people would boo him, and they would talk about Buddy Ryan. You know how many playoff games Buddy Ryan won in Philadelphia?
None.
The answer is 0.
Yeah.
0.
Andy
Reid won tons of how many playoff games did he win in Philadelphia?
He won 10.
10 playoff games and went to a Super Bowl. He's the best coach in Eagles history. He's the best coach in Chiefs history.
No doubt.
I don't. Who else is that? Forget the number of wins. Who else is the best coach in 2 teams' history?
I could look that up by winning percentage, actually, because.
Well, the guys who've had big-time runs in multiple places aren't that many. I mean, Tom Coughlin is not the greatest coach in Giants history.
I mean, there's definitely nobody who is the greatest coach for both aside from Reid, I don't think.
Is Dan Reeves the greatest coach in Broncos and Falcons history?
I mean, he's not a greater coach than Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, not Mike Shanahan. Yeah.
Probably not. No, I guess not. I don't know. I don't think that's an easy statement to make, but let's put it aside. It's not worth getting into. Most of the great ones are great ones because they only go to one place. Now, most of them don't get fired. Don Shula is the greatest coach in the history of the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Is he the greatest? How long was he the coach of the Colts? I don't even really know that.
I mean, I'll pull up that list. But
they lost Super Bowl III.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's going to be hard to put him over Tony Dungy. So Don Shula is 3rd in the history of the Colts.
Colts wins?
Yeah, and yes.
So he's not. He's just not. They won the championship.
Mike McCarthy, Cowboys, Packers.
Is Mike McCarthy a top 5 coach in Cowboys history? And they've had 7. The Jets have hit rock bottom yesterday, and the end of the Zach Wilson era officially happened yesterday, which is to say that regardless of who they start Friday against the Dolphins, regardless of who they start for the meaningless string of games that they will play out the season with, the one decision that is clear is that next year they have to have a different backup. It doesn't matter who it is. But backup quarterbacks have become very valuable. Basically, every team in the NFL is going to need them to play. And Zach Wilson's terrible. He's just a terrible player. And he doesn't get it. He doesn't see anything. Now, could anyone have succeeded yesterday? Yesterday was a perfect storm of circumstances. The Bills were rallying around this firing and this bad loss and playing for their season and all of that stuff and had the revenge from week 1, all that. The Jets were probably going to lose yesterday no matter what. And the Jets' offensive line is decimated beyond repair. No one could succeed behind it. Not Joe Namath, well, the Jets have no other legends. Aaron Rodgers, no one. But Rex said it this morning, and he's right. The Jets are not that far away. The Jets need Rodgers to come back healthy next year, and they need to completely remake their offensive line. They just need to stop counting on guys who were always hurt. They went into the season counting on Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton, both one of whom is 100 years old, and the other one whose body is 100 years old. He always hurt, and that is their undoing. So they can do that. They can figure that part of it out quickly. And in a league where backup quarterbacks are increasingly important, the Jets need a new one. Zach Wilson cannot be on this team next year, and that's it. That's really all there is to be said about the Jets. Are the Broncos making the playoffs? I think the answer is yes. The Broncos were 1-5. They're now 5-5. No one has paid any attention to it because when you're 1-5, we just wanted to bury them, and they're so variable. Like, people want Sean. There are a lot of people that don't like Sean. A lot of people don't like Russell. And so they wanted to see them fail. There was more fun, I think, in people talking about their failures. And they gave up 70 points in a game. Since then, their defense has actually been excellent. Russell Wilson's numbers are outstanding. They've won 4 straight games. Hembo, talk to me. I know you have the numbers. And the Broncos could make a playoff run.
Yeah, they've allowed 17 points a game since Week 7, which is tied for the best mark in the NFL. But if you think that the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, you can actually make some money if they do. ESPN Bet right now has the Broncos' playoff chances at 3-1. And that kind of agrees with what FPI has. We say they only have a 13% chance to get in. So the metrics aren't quite there. They have to go on the road and play C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, and Jared Goff consecutively. That's the sort of stretch that will make or break their chances. I'm going to sort of withhold my optimism for Denver until I see it for a little bit longer. I don't think Russell Wilson's playing that well, and I don't think this is a top 10 defense, so I'm gonna pass on that for now.
Here's the other thing I'll tell you. I look at their schedule as a benefit. They're about to play the Browns, who, if you have any offense, you can beat them. Now, their defense is great, but their offense is ridiculous. Then they play the Chargers, who give away... Then they play the Texans. Then they play the Chargers, who give away every game they play. They still have New England. They have the Chargers again, and they finish with the Raiders, who at that point will be playing out the string and playing for nothing. I think the Broncos...
5-2? You think they're going to finish 5-2?
I don't think you have to finish 5-2. You think you have to win 10 games to get in the AFC playoffs? I don't think so. I think you get to 9 and you're in. Who's winning all these games?
You might be right.
Someone has to win these games. I think they're going to win a bunch of them.